Welcome to the second day of IMTS SmartForce Student Summit. First, I wanted to thank SME and AMT for bringing us together this morning. The IMTS SmartForce Student Summit allows us to meet here every 2 years in beautiful Chicago to meet students, share that modern manufacturing is where bright futures begin. My name is Casey Blasioli. I work for the Advanced Manufacturing National Program Office, which coordinates the Manufacturing USA program. I'm going to be your moderator for this morning's panel. And on that note, I'd like to welcome our honored speakers. Please join me in welcoming Olivia Morales, Rodrigo Perez, and Kim Lemay. They've all had different pathways into manufacturing. So we're going to be sharing their stories this morning. One who started college not knowing that they loved problem solving and fell in love with the logic of computer engineering, but didn't know much about manufacturing until their first job out of college. One whose teenage work experience at a construction site led to an engineering career, and one who made a midlife career change and has become the go-to safety person at work. We created the Modern Makers program to celebrate and showcase people, their careers, and the many pathways into them. Through individual profiles, we seek to inspire tomorrow's manufacturing workforce by raising awareness of advanced manufacturing careers to you, students, and educators and workers. Modern Makers represents a shared sense of purpose and passion. They represent Manufacturing USA's mission to secure the future of U.S. manufacturing through innovation, collaboration, and education. So now I'm going to let each of the panelists introduce themselves, explain a bit about their roles, their interests, and what they would tell their high school selves about a career in advanced manufacturing. Following their introductions, we'll jump into a panel discussion and then leave some time at the end for questions. Olivia?
Sure, I can start us off. My name is Olivia Morales, and I work for an institute funded by Manufacturing USA and the DOE that focuses on smart manufacturing. And smart manufacturing is really just using data and technology to solve manufacturing problems. Day to day, I'm working with manufacturing technology from the shop floor, from the robotics and the machines, up to software technology, AI, kind of bringing all those things together. But when I started, I didn't really know much about manufacturing, and I've learned a lot on the job. So what I would probably say to my younger self is that manufacturing is really cool. There's a lot of unique problems that you can solve within manufacturing, and there's a lot of different avenues you can take within manufacturing. It's not just one thing or one piece of technology or one industry or one product. It's a mix of kind of everything from the physical to the digital to the creative.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rodrigo Perez. I am a senior systems integration engineer at MXD USA. MXD is a DoD-funded institute that focuses on digital manufacturing and cybersecurity for manufacturers. What I do day to day at MXD, I do a couple of things. We have a future factory floor where I get to implement advanced technology. One of my favorite tools I get to work with is digital twins and IoT applications. And I also am involved in working with the Army and working on modernization projects as well, helping the Army advance their technologies. And I get to work with a great set of people, ranging from workforce development to other engineers and project managers. So the way I got started as an engineer, I started working in construction with my father, and I came cross paths with the electronic engineer, and offered me my first job as a tech, and I learned how to operate a mill, how to operate a lathe, how to solder, how to put together circuit boards, and work with robotic inspection robots. And it was the gateway for me to kind of get into engineering, because prior to that I didn't really know what it was. And from there I just kind of pursued a path in mechanical engineering and mechatronics, really, and stayed true to that. And throughout my high school career, I kind of found mentorship as a key for me to kind of stay within manufacturing. And so if I was to talk to my younger self, I'll tell myself to just don't be afraid to try and kind of pursue things that you want to pursue. And that's a little bit about me.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Kim Lemay. I am from Army BioFabUSA, also DoD funded. I am an operations support specialist. My responsibilities include environmental health and safety, and also materials management. Army BioFabUSA is where science meets manufacturing. To create the whole biofabrication process. Is everyone here familiar with biofabrication? All right, well, biofabrication in our facility, we manufacture cells, organs, and tissues. We work with scientists, doctors, and patients to upscale manufacture to get this job done. And this is to cure diseases and to treat chronic injuries, including the men and women who fight for us. It's a very important work. I started 3 years ago as an apprenticeship. I have a little college background. I went to school initially for medical assistant right after high school. And then I changed my mind. I went for dietitian, and then I just let life go. I had 2 daughters. I worked at a nursing facility for 25 years, and COVID-19 came along, and it was trialing, to say the least. I began to look for a new career. My husband is a United States National Guard. I got an email from this company called Army looking for apprentices for this biofabrication technician. So I said, oh, next step in patient care, right? I'm already working in a nursing home. I'm already taking care of patients. This was the next step for me. They put me through, I was selected with 2 other women for this apprenticeship. It was 3 colleges in our town, and it involved manufacturing processes where we programmed our own robots. We worked the CNC machine. It also included upstream processing skills for cell culturing and intro to biotechnology. So after my apprenticeship program, I became full-time as a manufacturing associate. I no longer, I was working with a process development scientist, and it took on a team where it took us 42 days to create replacement skin. And I noticed I gravitated towards the operations role instead of more of a scientific role, making sure all the processes were in place that are needed to, be in compliance with regulatory and quality and all that. So that's a little about me.
Thank you. Kim, did you know what you wanted to be when you were in high school?
When I was in high school, I toyed with a lot of service. I toyed with a policewoman, but that didn't work out. I toyed with joining the military, joining the Air Force. And that's one regret. I wish I joined, but
I mean, you're still
serving. Yes.
Perfect. Rodrigo, you mentioned being introduced to engineering in high school, working on your dad's construction site and having a mentor. Did you have a mentor through college? Do you still have a mentor? Do you mentor?
I want to say I still do. One person in particular was his name is Federico Chimarella. He was my college professor at NIU. I crossed paths with Federico during college when I was a part of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. So I started getting involved with college. And not only was he my professor, but he also was my advisor for the club as well. So he helped me kind of put together this organization, and soon I became a student president for the organization. I built it up to about 60 members, and we kind of helped me kind of travel to conferences, and it was a good time. Put together events, and and I would always go to him for advice or career advice, because even in college I still wasn't sure, like, where is this going to take me. And so I know I was pursuing mechanical engineering, and I had the idea of like maybe switching into computer programming, which is another skill set I kind of like added on to me as well. And he always advised me to kind of pursue what really I'm passionate for. And I knew I was passionate in problem solving. I know I really like learning and researching technology. And so I kind of, like I said, I try to stay true to kind of where I started with robotics and automation, kind of the tech. And later on, a few years later, he mentioned MXD was a place to kind of check out, and the opportunity was there. And yeah, we're still very good friends. I play soccer with him as well. But yeah, I encourage young engineers or young students to have those conversations with your mentors, because they can help you, kind of guide you where you want to go. Even if you have an idea, maybe you're not too sure, they can kind of give you a clearer path to that.
Thank you. Olivia, we know that there are amazing jobs in advanced manufacturing. What would you say to someone in high school or community college or earlier in their career who has never thought of going into advanced manufacturing?
So I would think about what you like to do, what both in school, outside of school, a little bit about what you're good at, because a lot of those things are the same, and it's easier to kind of get started with something when you think about it in that lens. From there, getting exposure to manufacturing in general or advanced manufacturing at a show like this is a really good way to start to envision the types of jobs that people have in this industry. That's something that I didn't really get when I was a younger person. When I was in college and high school, I didn't know anything about manufacturing. I didn't even really know anything about engineering. And then I went and applied to an engineering school anyway. I knew that I liked problem solving. I knew that I liked math and science and physics. I knew I was good at logical problem solving, and I knew that I liked to work with my hands. I really liked shop class and woodworking, and so I went for a mechanical engineering major. I still didn't really know anything about manufacturing, even though there was a manufacturing class that I took. It really wasn't until I started working that I started to really understand what manufacturing was. And then in terms of advanced manufacturing, a lot of advanced manufacturing can mean so much. And that's why I think, again, getting exposure to the different types of advanced manufacturing, because it ranges from the robotic, physical sensors, smart sensors, to the biofabrication, to what you do with the data that comes off of all of these processes. So I think one of you guys said this before, but kind of keeping an open mind as you approach your career is, I think, really important.
Rodrigo, what are some common conceptions, misperceptions about manufacturing?
That it is hard, dirty, and dark, and everyone's mad, right? I think there's a little bit truth to that, but manufacturing is changing and it's evolving, just like everything. I think the dark and dirty days are kind of changing, and now it's becoming cleaner and safer. So I think, yeah, students should kind of start taking a look at that. It's a new environment. You're working with safer equipment. It's cleaner, and the culture is also changing as well. And so, yeah.
Kim, we know the data shows that there's a need to fill approximately 4 million jobs by 2034, so in the next 10 years. What are some benefits of working in manufacturing?
Best benefit for me is patient care. It's the next chapter of patient care. You're going to provide someone with an organ. You know, we need advanced manufacturing technologies to get us there, to upscale, get us there.
Olivia, we know that AI and automation is changing the workplace. How is technology changing jobs and the skills people need to succeed in those jobs?
So I can talk about it a little bit from the sort of smart manufacturing data standpoint, along with the AI. What we're seeing at our institute at CESMII is just being able to gain insights and see information about your manufacturing process is major. There's a lot of manual processes within manufacturing, especially for a small and medium manufacturer, which is the majority of manufacturers in the United States. And so something as simple as just seeing some information digitized about your operation, a simple sensor, a temperature reading, is pretty impactful. And that can eventually feed into the development of AI algorithms and and models that you can then use to make predictions. But you can't do any of that if you're not collecting the data, contextualizing it, and then visualizing it at sort of a base level, then doing something with it. AI isn't very new. It's new, I think, in the sort of mainstream sense of it, but there have been, machine learning algorithms and use cases within manufacturing for at least a decade. I mean, at least the whole time that I've been working in manufacturing. So it's not new. Generative AI has made it more accessible for people to leverage some of these models and build out their own and start thinking creatively about where they can apply it to manufacturing. And so that's really exciting. But in terms of how I see it changing the workplace, I think that there's going to be more and more of a need to be at least somewhat knowledgeable about what these technologies are, so that at all levels of a manufacturing organization or technology provider, you can begin to apply those technologies.
Are there certain skills that are necessary to be successful in, and Rodrigo, feel free to jump in on this one too, for digital, cybersecurity, AI, manufacturing?
I mean, being able to do some sort of programming or coding is going to be really helpful. But more than just knowing it, it's being able to learn it, because that is changing. The languages used to program are changing all the time, or the one that you need to use for a particular use case is going to change because the different manufacturers using a different technology stack. So it kind of goes back to that root problem-solving skill set. So being a little bit curious, being able to problem solve, figure out where you're going to get that information, kind of do baseline research, even just with Google, to find out how to do the programming. When I was in college, Google existed, but I couldn't really use Google to solve some of these programming problems. And now you can. So being able to find that information and apply it, I think, is a sort of a broad skill set, but will lead you to success in kind of any area of manufacturing. I don't know if you
Anything to add, Rodrigo?
Yeah, I think you touched on pretty much all those. I would add that definitely just have the desire to learn and not be afraid to fail. I think failure is one of the best ways to learn in manufacturing, unfortunately. I know we try to avoid that, but it's one of the best ways to kind of learn and do those root cause analysis. Root cause analysis is definitely a great skill set to learn. Having that logical, methodical way of breaking problems down is also another skill set. From my experience, one of the things that I always used was kind of a hands-on approach, putting theory into practice, and that's just kind of me getting literally putting things together, putting them apart, understanding how things interact with one another. Even when I'm working with systems, I like to kind of see if I can visualize how things are moving behind the scenes. I can kind of understand what's working, what's not. So I would say get hands on. Yeah.
I wanted to add on to, or just accentuate the comment about not being afraid to fail or make mistakes, because I think that, especially when you're already responsible for things and you're supposed to solve these problems, it can be daunting to then solve them, and knowing that you might make a mistake and there may be serious implications from that mistake. But if you don't try, or don't kind of lead with that curiosity to try and learn or apply new technologies to solve the problems, then we're not going to really be moving forward with any of these things.
I think they call that analysis paralysis, right?
Yeah. Like, you got to just do it. And then if it doesn't work out, oh well. Like, you'll learn something and you'll take that learning with the next iteration.
Exactly.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is fail forward. So a question for all of you. What is the coolest experience that you have had in manufacturing, or that you've seen in your time in manufacturing?
The coolest thing that I've seen is a finished product. Seeing the skin, seeing organs, shoes being shipped out for testing is pretty cool.
I can go. So this actually comes from the days where I was getting trained as a application engineer. We had to learn. I didn't know how to do ladder logic when I first started. And so for me, one of the coolest things was writing a program that moved a conveyor and read sensors, read in the inputs, and then wrote out outputs to make something actually move and make it actually do something. So that was sort of the first time where I was like, oh, manufacturing, this is really fun. I can actually make things move, and I can, write it on a computer, and then it's going to do something. And then, so that was in training. And then now in my role, I think the thing that has been really cool to see is people applying some of the concepts that CESMII has kind of put forth into the industry, actually see that resonate with manufacturers and technology providers, and see them adopt them and bring them to their actual products and their workforce.
My favorite manufacturing experience was back at a place where I was a manufacturing engineer. This manufacturer worked a lot with welding robotics, and I worked a lot with the actual workers, with a lot of the welders. And I think my first IoT project was at that company, and this was before I even knew what digital manufacturing was. But I was having a conversation with the engineering director and the finance director, and they were having issues with trusting their staff workers with counting finished parts. And me having the kind of the mechatronics background, I was like, I can come up with a solution, guys. Trust me. And so I Googled right away, all right, how to count parts, right? In manufacturing. But the problem was that in their process, they were stamping wire to form a certain part. And then that part gets welded onto a weldment. And so these guys will run the machine all day, every day, and would lose track of it. And at the end of the day, they need to report it back how many parts were completed. Well, it turns out that the guy was just guessing. He was like, yeah, I think I did about 200 today. And that was it. So the finance guy and me had a conversation about that. And I'm like, no, let me try this out. So I Googled, bought some things on from Omron, and wired up an inductive sensor with a counter. And then I integrated it into the stamping press, and then I tested it out, showed it to my boss, my engineering director, and I was able to give him a final number at the end of the day, every day. And so that was my first engineering IoT project in actual engineering, real world. So it was very cool. And so, yeah, I always look back at that because not only did I like prove out an idea, like I gained trust with not only the workers, but I understood the workers that they couldn't keep up with the demand. So I built a relationship with them, but I also built a relationship with the directors as well. So
Very cool. Olivia and Kim, only 30% of the US manufacturing workforce is female. It's 2 women thriving in this male-dominated field. What advice do you have for women considering going into advanced manufacturing?
I would say just you gotta step in. You just gotta go for what you like. It's going to make you that better person if you aren't intimidated by advanced manufacturing. I can say I work in the Manchester Mill Yards, and there's a great picture of women working back in the 1800s making jeans. And I'm proud to say that I was the inaugural group for my apprenticeship program, and we are manufacturing a different type of jeans in that same mill yard. So go for it.
Nice. Yeah. When I was in college, I switched from mechanical engineering to computer engineering because I fell in love with a class. And I was like, oh, maybe I want to do this instead. And I didn't like the material science class that I'd taken that was a requirement for mechanical. So I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to be a mechie. But I was really intimidated by the just number of guys in the computer engineering and computer science classes. And I was very nervous about switching my major because I thought, well, I'm starting at a disadvantage. All of these guys have been coding. They code for fun. They've been coding forever. I'm never going to catch up. And I learned pretty quickly that none of them knew really, maybe one or two, but like on average, no one knew any more than I did or any less, right? We're all we're teenagers or in our early 20s. No one really knows anything at that stage. And you know what? No one really knows anything moving forward either. Like you gain experience, you still have gaps, you kind of let your curiosity drive you and, continue to learn. I am the only woman in the room or on the Zoom call most of the time. And it doesn't feel uncomfortable, but I notice it, and I wish I didn't notice it, or I notice when another woman is on the call with me. I'm like, wow, there's 2 of us. The hardest thing has been interrupting in rooms where there are many experienced men, and I'm aware of my gender and aware of my age, but the advice that I would give in those situations is to not force yourself to do anything you're not comfortable with, but question why you're actually uncomfortable. Are you uncomfortable because you're intimidated by the number of a certain gender in a field or in a class? Are you intimidated because, you think you're going to fail? And there's a sort of natural amount of fear I feel like is necessary in life, right? Feel the fear and do it anyway. And so if you like something, don't let the fear stop you. Don't be intimidated by what you see as normal, because that's only normal because it's been that way, and it takes just a couple people to change what normal looks like.
Thank you. I like that. Rodrigo, how should students approach community colleges, guidance counselors, and all the different advanced manufacturing career pathways that are available to them?
I would encourage them to get involved. Get involved in the clubs. Get involved. Doing projects. And do internships. Try to gain as much experience as you can during your college years, especially in community college, because that is your time to learn and take advantage of that opportunity, because that's when you can fail and that's when you can take those risks. So do it as much as you can, and then find your way and pursue your passion.
So, a question for each of you. As you look back on your careers, what do you wish you knew earlier that you know now?
I would say advanced manufacturing is not as intimidating as it sounded. I really wasn't familiar with manufacturing in high school. I pursue a different career, and now that I'm in manufacturing and I have all my experience, it's be cool to share it with everybody, and just to know about all the possibilities. You know, automation, robotics. Wish I knew more about that.
I would look for a modern maker. I'll seek out mentorship sooner than later, because it'll help you get there quicker.
I was going to say seek out a mentor, but I will also say that to expose yourself to different things, whether it's different classes, different people in different careers, trade shows, student fairs. Just expose yourself, or if you're already working, maybe take on a lateral role or a role that's different than what you were doing, because that exposure, one, it makes you a more well-rounded individual for your career and just as a person. It helps you learn about yourself, and it helps you kind of visualize what might be possible, because I think it's kind of hard to envision what you want to do, what you want to be, what you like without seeing it.
So I wanted to pause and see if there were any questions from the audience.
So the case study that you were telling us, where you did the analysis with the laser and the tracking of the manufacturing, was the number that they were producing higher or lower than what they estimated?
Oh, he learned that he was fast.
So he was very happy that he was making more than he thought.
Yeah. So everyone's happy with that.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Was there something like this when you were in high school, or something like an early exposure program, or have you seen that grown? And, I came in, you may have asked this, I'm sorry, but that kind of steered you that way. And if not, what would you suggest, like the benefit for schools to be at a place like IMTS?
Do you want to go ahead?
I would just look around and look for those apprenticeship programs just to get started. You don't need a college background. A lot of high school students, 100%, as they get into their junior, senior year. There was definitely no apprenticeship programs when I was in school, but it's definitely a good start.
My high school did have some engineering classes, or some engineering classics, a robotics class and a bioengineering class. And I took the robotics class, but it was never really translated into something related to manufacturing, or really, like I said, I went into engineering not knowing what engineering was. So I think like telling students what it is would be helpful. Because I think a lot of people's experience comes from the adults around them, and my parents weren't in manufacturing or really in technology. My mom's a teacher. So I didn't have that exposure, even though I did have it. So I think being told once and then again and again, and giving them exposure through classes or fairs or conversations, because we didn't have anything, like we didn't do any field trips like this growing up.
I think what kind of helped me was my experience working with an electronic engineer, because that took the idea of what manufacturing could be and turned into kind of reality. Because I could see now like the type of machinery that manufacturers would be using, the kind of drawings or schematics that I would be kind of looking at. So that kind of painted me a picture of what I can see myself doing. And I think that's kind of what kind of continued to lead me into engineering, was that experience. So I would say if there is a way for students to kind of get that experience at a manufacturer, I think it would be great. Such as, well, not internships, but have them go check it out and see kind of what it is that manufacturers do.
Job shadowing.
Yeah, job shadow. Yeah.
Any other questions from the audience?
So there is still a paradigm shift that has to happen with parents and guidance counselors. Of they look at manufacturing as something very different from what it's become. And I'm not asking you to solve that problem in a day, but as people on the inside, what are recommendations you have to industry, to those of us who are working to support these elements? How do we help shift that paradigm? Yes, we can have one-on-one conversations, but what are the other things that have to be happening so students aren't steered away from manufacturing because, you know, their parents want them to go be a doctor or a lawyer, even though maybe that's not what they're really interested in?
Well, I would definitely speak to all the students that want to pursue medical. Coming from my background, there's a lot of nurses, LNAs, even doctors had no idea there was a biofabrication. You could get a degree for that. So I would just strongly, mention it's not just manufacturing, it's biomanufacturing, it's biofabrication.
One thing that comes to my mind is about the jobs that you just described is, well, what makes a parent want their student to go into those fields? It's salary, maybe prestige, or stability. And those exist to a great extent within manufacturing. So, you said maybe not conversations, but that would be a conversation that I would have with the parents or the guidance counselors to then relay to other parents or students. And then I would also probably focus on the skills again. What are the skills? Knowing that these are going to be stable, solid paying, growth opportunity roles, and then articulate that there's a broad range of skills needed within manufacturing. And so it's not just the dark manufacturing. That's not what it is. But if you want to work with your hands and get dirty, you can. It's also creative. If you like graphic design, you could work within manufacturing. So I think kind of how we showcase that at things like this through modern makers or showcasing different careers is a helpful way to do that. But I think it's going to happen over time through just more exposure.
Yeah, and I would add reaching out to local school systems. Manufacturing Day is right around the corner. It's the first Friday of October, and it's a good opportunity to bring in students to the workplace and show them what is going on behind those doors and expose them to these different types of careers. Yeah, that was a great question. Olivia, a lot will change in the next 5 years. What are some key opportunities students should take advantage of today? And what are you seeing in the next 5 to 10 years of manufacturing?
Wait, I just had one more thought on that question, which is another reason why people think about a certain career in a certain way is the media and what you see in TV and in movies, right? There are so many doctor shows. Funny ones, serious ones. So maybe we need to talk to Hollywood and get some manufacturing jobs or reality show. I'm kidding, but that's a big way that people get their information about what they see about the world, especially kids.
Yeah, how different would things be if The Office took place in a manufacturing facility? Right. All right, so what would you see changing in the next 5 years? What are some key opportunities students should take advantage of today? And what are you seeing being that change in the next 5 to 10 years?
So I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see so much more digitization and use of data within manufacturing. I'm already seeing it. There's already been a culture shift towards wanting to do it and being a little less apprehensive towards digitizing and moving data to the cloud. So I think that's just going to continue. And then for students, to be ready for that, take classes that make you do computer programming, or think through logic problems, or learn new pieces of technology.
Rodrigo, as you look ahead, what are some of the things you're looking forward to with how technology is enabling U.S. manufacturing?
What I'm looking forward to is how effective manufacturers are going to be in the future. Once they start understanding and understanding how the tools work, upskilling their workforce, I think manufacturers are going to be more effective in solving problems. So that honestly, I see that as one of the things I'm looking forward to. Quality is probably going to go up in a lot of the products that we make today. So I see an enhancement in quality as well.
Kim, what's one thing you hope that the students, teachers, parents that are listening to this session do after hearing this?
I would say from a career changer, what I thought was my forever career in nursing, be brave, step outside the box, try new things. If you see something like this apprenticeship that I was interested in, take it. It takes you to new places and next chapter to patient care. So just be brave.
I like that. And then just a closing question for each of you. What's one thing you want everyone to remember about having a career in advanced manufacturing? Like, what's one key takeaway from today's conversation, like, to go home with?
I can't say this enough. One key takeaway for advanced manufacturing is patient care. There's nothing more to say. We are manufacturing replacement cells, organs, and tissues. So that's a good takeaway. Please bring it home. Think about it. Midlife, career changers, students.
Google what the ghost heart is.
My message is get involved. There's a lot of opportunity in the industry for collaboration, and I think having the collaboration will drive innovation. But it needs to start with getting involved, and I think there's plenty of places where in manufacturing people can get involved. So.
I think my message would be to stay open. There is so much out there within advanced manufacturing. There's so much you can do. Don't put yourself in a box. Even if you start your career on one path and you think one thing about yourself, stay open to other opportunities and stay curious. Advanced manufacturing is all around us. It feels behind the scenes because you kind of only interact with the end product or structure, but it's everywhere. And it's fundamental to the society that we live in. And being a part of that is really exciting.
So I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you all for being here. Our modern makers are going to be over in the Manufacturing USA booth today, so feel free to stop by and ask them questions and learn a bit more about ways to start a career or an education journey into advanced manufacturing. Thank you all.